Welcome back to Good Morning Greyhounds, Season 7, Episode 6. I'm your host, Cassidy Taylor. In today's episode, we have 3 members of the speech and debate team, Ian, Noah, and Jordan. They went to Greece over spring break and even won awards. We are so excited to have you guys here today. How are you doing?
You want to go, Noah?
Delightful.
I'm doing pretty good, living the dream.
Yeah.
It was pretty exciting stuff over in Greece, but I think we're all pretty happy to be home.
Yeah, of course. So while you were in Greece for the championships, which is a giant deal, how did that go? What was it like to compete against people from different countries?
Well, do you want me to go first, guys?
Absolutely. Go for it, bro.
I think it was an incredible experience. We got to see people with a variety of different perspectives on certain matters. Like in my favorite event, Impromptu Speaking, I got to see how people from different countries recontextualize these examples that I had thought of previously. Like the perspective that I would have brought to one example, like Oprah Winfrey, another person would have had a completely different perspective on it, and I think that was really, really cool to see.
Yeah, absolutely. So my favorite part of speech and debate is how inclusive of a community it is, right? I mean, no matter what your background is, no matter how much diversity is represented, every single person's voice is valued, and that was epitomized at this tournament, especially with so many people in such a diverse background.
Yeah, speaking of diversity, I mean, we're immersed in a different culture the entire time there. So being able to be in there for a couple days before the competition and to kind of use that culture to our advantage and to kind of capitalize on what that meant was really cool to be able to use in competition.
Yeah. Well, we heard that while you were there, you even won some awards, and you actually brought them in to show us today. Could we see exactly what you guys won?
Yeah, so first of all, I won the first place, the international champion for Impromptu Speaking, which was really exciting.
Congratulations.
And thank you very much. I was also a finalist for Informative Speaking, and I was a finalist for, what was my other event? POI, where I ranked 5th. And then I was a semi-finalist for Extemp, where they gave us certificates.
Yes, so I have 2 big bronze medals here for getting 3rd place in poetry interpretation and then program oral interpretation, which is essentially a fancy way of saying argumentative poetry performance and argumentative collage of a million different things to act it out and stuff. And then I also did not receive medals for the semifinals placements, but I did place semifinals in prose as well, which is from a book.
And I won the power of friendship and good vibes.
Well, that's all you really need.
You see, in a big competition, I just wasn't on my A game, and that's okay. But seeing them do what they're doing and have an international championship is the best award I could have asked for.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that you got there at all is a huge accomplishment, so congratulations,
yes,
great job to
yes.
all
And
of
the
you.
thing that goes often understated is Noah was kind of our rock during this competition in the sense that when it got announced that we were breaking into semifinals and finals rounds, he contacted all of our loved ones back home and collected messages to encourage us. Yeah. So really, when Noah says the power of friendship, he really was the one that pushed us to even greater heights during this competition.
Yeah, so sadly, Stephanie Weidman, who helps run the speech and debate team, she couldn't be here with us today. But could you guys explain her kind of role in the team and how she leads you guys to success?
Noah, you're the best to talk about this.
I don't know why I'm the best to talk about it, but Stephanie Weidman is the core foundation of what this team is. I know coming in as freshman, she was the team director, and now she moved to chair and all that fun stuff. So she's not as involved as what she was her freshman year. But those lessons that she taught us freshman year really carried us to where we are today, to be able to compete so highly at an international level. And then with the help of our coach, Allie Nickerson, just the 2 of them have been really influential in what we're doing on the speech and debate team.
Yeah, I think a lot of it just stems back to like a culture of excellence that was cultivated by her. I mean, her legacy at this team is a lot longer than our legacy at this team and our impact. But coming in, there was a bit of a cultural shift that she pushed to try to further the standards of our team and the goals and aspirations, and that has manifested, especially over the last 3 years, but it's like particularly this year, we've just seen a new level of success we haven't seen before.
Yeah, I mean, just building completely on that, Stephanie is like the foundation of our team as far as culture is concerned. The things that she tries to emphasize, particularly the ideas of not just being good speakers, but being good people, and furthermore, presenting ourselves in a professional manner. Those are things that are the heart and soul of a UND speech and debate, and those were cultivated by Dr. Stephanie Weidman. Yeah.
Speaking of Stephanie, I have a class with her right now, and she talked all about the things you guys saw in Greece, including the octopus. She showed us the video.
Yes.
Did you guys learn anything about the history of speech and debate while you were in Greece?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, my favorite things I learned were his reaction to seeing sea urchins. But I mean, being able to go to literally the foundation of democracy, the foundation of rhetorical concepts, and to like immerse ourselves and, as Stephanie would say, use osmosis to try and learn as much as possible. It was just so transformational. I mean, I remember I'm an actor, right? I compete in acting events for speech and debate. We got to the Acropolis and saw the Theater of Dionysus, right? Where literally the first plays ever were performed. And I cried, and it was kind of like a really emotional experience, but it was, I think, above all, inspiring to say, like, that's where it started, here's where we are, here's where we could go, and to have that sort of like transformational and like optimistic approach through reflection on our past.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that's what made this international tournament, because they go different places every single year. But to be in Athens, Greece, go to the Acropolis and see where the roots of forensics were developed, I think really helped us kind of put everything into perspective a little bit. It was really interesting.
Absolutely. The thing that really stuck with me was something that both Stephanie taught and the places that we went and saw kind of illustrated to me, was in Athens, Greece, there was almost this debate between two sides. You had Plato and you had the sophists. Now, Plato suggested that truth is truth, and no matter how you present it, you can't ignore truth. Whereas the sophists suggest that there was an art of persuasion that needed to be said, that how you present the argument is just as important as the art itself. And then Stephanie introduced us to the Aristotelian principle of rhetoric, the idea that the dialectic, or how you tailor an argument, is the handmaiden of the rhetoric, the argument itself. And so getting to see all these places where Aristotle himself constructed these ideas from two different perspectives and kind of resolved this argument, which then became the ethos of our team, that was really inspiring, and that led me to almost conduct myself completely on a different level in this tournament.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm curious, how did you guys even get started with doing speech and debate? Like, is this something you ever thought you'd be doing in college, or how was your route there?
No. I was an education major at the time of my freshman year, and I just realized I wanted to get better at speaking and communicating. So I just joined the team, had to kind of twist Stephanie's arm a little bit. And so did Jordan, because we both had no experience coming in. So to be able to have the growth and the dialect that we do today is really a testament to both the leadership that Stephanie and Allie have on the team, but also the hard work that we've put in.
Mm-hmm. So like Noah, I came in with very no speech and debate experience at all coming out of high school. I went to a small high school. They didn't exactly offer that kind of program there. They didn't even have a speech class. And so when I got here, I know, very surprising. And I got here and I saw that there was a speech and debate team, and it was my mom and my English teacher who had encouraged me to apply, because they were like, you're talented, you might be able to do something with this. So I applied and I went to Stephanie, I had my interview with her, and she said, you'll fit right in, and gave me the opportunity to compete on the team. And that was how I was really introduced to speech and debate, and since then it's been one of my first loves, so.
Yeah, see, contrary, I had a lot of experience coming in. In fact, part of my college selection process was looking at different colleges and the reputations of their speech team to see where I could fit in. I mean, I was one of the founders of the now state champion high school speech and debate team and stuff, so it's like, it was always something that was a goal of mine, but even outside of that, like, I do competitive acting, right? I've been a theater kid since I was 4 years old, so it's like, it was kind of always my destiny, was like, I'm going to be here or else.
Yeah, so when you're looking at going from no experience or going from a high school level speech team until where you are now, which is international champions, what has been your biggest improvement from when you started on the team and going until now?
Wow, that's a good question.
That's a loaded question.
I think I have an answer. And I think my answer is my mentality.
Yeah.
When I came in, at the very first, I had no experience, but I had put a lot of pressure on myself to have results, right? This idea that I am my results, that I am the things that come from competition. But as I've competed over the past 3 years, and specifically given speeches on topics that are meaningful to me and have had an impact beyond the results. For example, last year I gave a speech about eating disorders in male populations. This year I gave one about terminal illness and its effect on my family. And I see how it's changing people and it's helping people beyond just how they're ranking in competition. And I think that helped me to realize that it's not about the medals at the end of the day, but it's about who you're changing. It's about the message that you're sharing. So coming from this no experience, I think my biggest kind of improvement was the idea in seeing the value of the message that I have, having confidence in that, and realizing that I am more than the results of one judge's opinion, but I am just someone with a good message to share.
Yeah, I think mine is very similar, so I'm not gonna like steal that. I'll go in a different approach, but like for sure, mentality was a big approach. I came into this team saying I'm the most competitive person I know, and I was like, I hate humble people. I'm gonna be the best and stuff like that. And like, obviously, you grow in college, but specifically a part of this team, I think my biggest area of improvement, I think, has been mentorship specifically, of not even a part of the competition, but the team aspect as a whole, of recognizing that your own individual success matters only insofar as you're on the team, to try to establish a cultural shift and to try to establish a new era of like excellence in the upcoming people, I think is arguably more important because it lasts longer. That's a legacy and stuff like that. And especially as an education major now, like I recognize that like it's not about me. It frankly like never was, and like to have that mindset is just demeaning to your own results, but also demeaning to the team's culture. So to have that change of saying, no, sometimes you need to sacrifice stuff for yourself for the greater good of the environment of the team is what's actually important.
Yeah, and I mean, they took both of the ones I was thinking about because those are two very core to what we do. We have to have a good mentality to go in and face the stress of competition. And the mentorship aspect that we've kind of grown into over the last year and a half or so is really important. But I think that my biggest takeaway also is more superficial, but just the process of speaking. You know, I mean, you go in my specialty and Jordan's specialty is limited preparation speaking, where we don't know what we're speaking on until we get into a round. So we kind of have to make that up on the cuff. Well, not make it up, but provide good analysis and to be able to keep our cool while we're doing that. That's something I never thought I would be able to be doing out of high school. So to be able to have that new talent and that skill is going to serve me well in a lot of different areas.
Yeah, and it's very obvious that you all love this team a lot, and so I have to ask: do you have like a favorite part about being on the team, or is there any like certain moments that you really remember and resonate with you?
I think celebrating success of everybody.
Yeah.
Coach Alley always says it's not about the results. The results don't matter because at the end of the day, it's the opinion of 2 or 3 people. But I think that celebrating the success of everybody on the team, from novice members to varsity members, is just the coolest things that we get to do together. Because it doesn't matter. It's not a competition between us. We're all helping each other, and we learn a lot from our novices, and we also learn a lot from our varsity members to kind of further ourselves. So to be able to kind of congratulate and to be able to celebrate every single individual win or just every single individual ballot and good feedback is just one of the most impressive things I think we do as a team together.
Yeah, for sure. I think for me specifically, it's also like team culture stuff like that, of celebrating successes. But I think just like the process of seeing the growth. It's not even just like the actual achievements of the other students, but like the stepping stones to there, right? Like when I lead debate practices and stuff, right? I started the season with like, okay, you need to fill this 5 minutes, otherwise like I'm gonna throw a water bottle at you or something stupid, right? Like obviously joking, but like making those memories that now have become inside jokes, and students have said they literally think about getting a water bottle thrown at them while they're speaking in competition, and it helps them. It's just like stupid little inside stuff like that I think is like, I don't know, it's warming to your heart, right?
Yeah.
I think in a very similar kind of circumstance is I think about the milestones, and particularly not so much my own milestones, but the milestones of others. Yeah. To share my favorite memory, it goes back to our sophomore season. There was a novice on the team, and she was someone who came in with no experience and was very reminiscent of myself. And she'd worked hard all year. She didn't feel like she was improving. And then finally at nationals, it was her and I in extemporaneous speaking. And she had broken to quarterfinals. And I remember her running up and giving me the biggest hug and saying, "I did it. Look, I did it." After months of hard work, she finally got that which she sought after. And this came after, time after time she would beat herself up for not breaking. But when she found herself and found the joy in the activity, then she finally got it. And that is a memory that will always stick with me. And that memory has since been replicated in members on the team this year having similar experiences. Mm-hmm. And it's just that I did it moment. When someone who you have like mentored and helped and seen and encouraged finally looks at you and says, "Look what I've done. Look, I've gotten there. I've reached that." And I think that's my favorite memory.
I think it's exemplified too because you have to understand how much the people on our team work. I mean, we have 3-hour practices at minimum every single week, but we're expected to do a lot of it outside of class time practice and meeting with the mentors and other varsity members to peer coach and all that fun stuff. And like Jordan said, seeing our novices and the people get that first break and win is just such an awesome experience.
Yeah. And we've talked a lot about the international championships, which of course is a big deal. But on a typical season, what kind of events do you actually attend throughout the year?
So that's actually a great question. So when we're talking about speech and debate, there's kind of like most athletic events you would think of. There's a regular season, then there's a postseason. So as far as the regular season is concerned, we usually attend 1 to 2 tournaments per month that's hosted by a school. So that could be Ball State University, it could be Bowling Green over in Ohio. And typically the tournaments range from about maybe 5 to 20 teams that go there, and we compete in our respective events and get feedback and that sort of thing. Then as we go through the season, we transition into what's called the postseason. And here's where we have the Indiana Forensics Association State Championships, where we compete with other schools in Indiana. Then we have the National Speech Championships, where we compete at the national level with other schools. And then at the pinnacle of all of those things is the International Forensics Association Championship. So that's kind of what a regular season looks like. They're all very similar in structure. It's just that the scale and size of the tournaments tend to increase as the season goes on, culminating in those state championships, those national championships, and internationals.
And obviously, as you progress, you have your competitors getting better at their own individual speeches, giving, putting in the judges' feedback and all that fun stuff. So you're seeing a high level of competition as the season moves on that both elevates your game, but also it kind of lets you see what else is going on out there to get better from that standpoint as well.
And then as for competitions like day of, I think there is a lot of difference. For example, at internationals, we competed in hotel rooms where we're giving speeches and I'm screaming at the top of my lungs in the middle of a hotel room while there's people next door probably sleeping. But at different competitions, you might have some that you're giving a speech in the middle of a closet because they ran out of classrooms, right? Or it could be hosted at any sort of idea. It could be at a convention center where that's where awards are going to be and stuff like that, right? Day of can change a lot depending on the circumstances, and it tends to get a little bit fancier second semester.
Yeah, well, thank you guys. We're going to be right back to hear more from them right after this break. Be sure to stick around.
Sports, I'm Jay Saj, and I'm going to be your host tonight.
And I'm your co-host, Charles Foster.
And I'm Jackson Strasburger, your sports analyst.
And that'll do it for today's edition of Grand Slam Sports.
Tune into Good Morning Greyhounds on UND TV on YouTube at 9 a.m. on Saturdays.
Start your morning right with entertainment, interviews, and games all on Good Morning Greyhounds on Saturdays at 9 a.m. And you can even spot a greeting.
And we're live in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good evening and welcome back to UND TV News.
For the campus, local, and national headlines you need to know, tune in to UND TV News, Mondays at 6.
Take it on a game-winning buzzer beater, long range.
Ladies and
I'm
gentlemen,
angry at you, Freddie. We got to get off TikTok.
That's what I'm talking about right there. Paul Salinskis getting them threes up.
What are you talking about? Whoa. Due respect putting Anthony Davis up there. I do like it. He stinks but too. Just give Paul Pierce the ball with 10 seconds on the clock. He's getting you a bucket. Talking about Andre Iguodala. You know, it's a great episode when we're screaming.
Welcome back. Okay. And I'm kind of curious, we've talked a little bit about it, how have you guys found the really style of speech that you specialize in? Like we've talked a little bit about the impromptu versus like the poetry side. So I'm curious how you really found your place.
I can start. The way I like to describe how I found my place, well, I've done all kind of different speech and debate events. I've done the acting side, I've done the platform speaking side, I've dabbled in debate, but my real bread and butter, I think, is my limited prep events. And that was really motivated by two people in particular. One was former competitor Craig Chigadza, and the other was current head coach and former competitor Ali Nickerson. So when I came in as a freshman, Craig really hammered home the value of a limited prep speech. And when he walked through how to do an impromptu speech, to me, it was almost just like magic. At that moment, I was smitten with it. And I realized that there was an art to it, and the high pressure and the way your blood gets pumping as soon as you open that card and you have no idea what to say. I think in that way, I'm a bit of an adrenaline junkie when it comes to speech and debate and the thrill of not knowing what I'm going to say next. But it was those two people, Craig and Ali, who really pushed me and showed me that I can do this hard thing. I can stand up there with no idea what I'm going to say next and give a very fluid, very palpable speech. And I think I owe a lot to those two people for helping me to find my niche in this community.
Yeah, so for my events, I do like acting events, and then debate are kind of my two focus points. For acting, I've just always been like a theater kid, so that's kind of how I stumbled into that. Particularly last year at Nationals, I got thrown into an event like the week before. I literally wrote the entire 10-minute monologue, dramatic performance the week before, and then placed 6th in the country after that.
Oh, wow.
So I was like, okay, this is kind of what I'm good at. I should probably just focus on it. So instead of trying to like split my talents, I kind of just said, this is my focus point. And then for debate, it's kind of just something I've always loved, right? I was never really like an argumentative kid, but I was always very like logical, and that I was like, no, you're wrong, here's why. And I think that translates over surprisingly well to a debate landscape where you're pointing out flaws in argumentation and stuff like that. And then also it's just, in my opinion, debate's the best way to learn out of any event because you have to research so many topics in the day. And you have to look at both sides' best arguments and determine which is your best course of action to determine who's going to win the round.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Yeah. I think that my specialty is more on the limited prep side, although I've dabbled in just about all the other aspects except debate, which I've remained adamant that I'm not doing, but I've been told that I am going to be thrust into it next semester. Great. But as far as limited prep speaking goes, I mean, Jordan mentioned Craig, and Craig was very helpful in my development as well. But the idea of speaking on something I didn't know what I was going to be speaking on when I walked into a round scared the crap out of me. It made my anxiety flare up. But I think that getting better at that, more comfortable with that with practice and whatnot, kind of made me feel more comfortable with that. I will also mention that we have also all done events together, whether it's duo interpretation. I know that Jordan and I and Jordan and Ian had done duos where they're both kind of competitive acting, telling a storyline. We've all done group improv. We actually won a national championship in that. So it's just fun to be able to do a wide variety of things and also have some fun with it too. So.
Yeah. So you've mentioned that your practices are minimum 3 hour long a week, which is long but necessary. So I'm curious, what does like an average practice look like for you guys? What exactly do you do?
So I can kind of break it down for you. So when we go into practice, typically our practices begin at 6 p.m. Now, outside of practice, we have meetings for like impromptu or extemporaneous speaking, but our actual practice throughout the week begins at 6 p.m. Typically from 6 to 6:30, we're talking about announcements and we're having a bit of a group discussion. This is typically led and fostered by Coach Ali. Then about 6:30, we start to do split. And this is where our 4 mentors on the team, which is myself, Noah, Ian, and Adejime, who is going to go compete at Nationals right now, where we all kind of mentor in our respective categories. And so our students split up and then we do some peer coaching. This typically lasts about 2 hours because we want to give individualized coaching to each of these kids. And then typically towards the end of practice, we do some debates primarily is when those debates are housed. So that's kind of the flow of practice, I believe.
Yeah, that's how like the designated practice time is scheduled. As far as like individual practice, it's more so like you have your assignments for the week occasionally where it's like, say, get a video to me by Sunday at midnight of all of your events, right? Stuff like that. We try to focus on like incremental change as opposed to just running stuff repeatedly for the sake of running stuff. So like I think a big part of our practice philosophy is having a focus or a goal of like, this is specifically what I'm going to like conquer today and how I'm going to improve in this small way. So that way I don't have to rehash that every single week. So it's more so just like goal setting for individual stuff and trying to meet those goals as best as possible.
And furthermore, the peer mentorship we have set up is really fundamental to our team. I mean, Coach Alley is one person, so she can't give us all what, 12, 13 of us, 16 of us feedback. That's a lot. So it's really cool to be able to break that down into. It both helps us as mentors to be able to have that practice of giving feedback and kind of leading those discussions, but we also rely heavily on just overall peer feedback. They don't have to be a mentor to give feedback and to coach each other and whatnot. So I think that has really developed that rich culture that we have on the team to develop with practices.
Yeah, and speaking of impromptu speeches, do you think you could give us a little example of something that you'd come up with during practice?
I know Jordan can.
Absolutely. So just in the event that this was asked, I brought in my pockets a impromptu quote. So this is kind of how we go about giving impromptu speeches.
You want me to read it?
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
Righty. Let's see. Okay. I don't believe in failure, only the process, by Oprah Winfrey.
Okay, so let's say it's an impromptu speech and we just started, right? 2 minutes on the clock, I have 2 minutes to prep. My first goal is to interpret what does that mean, right? So when I'm thinking about that, I'm trying to think of a way that I can convey to my audience, I understand it in a catchy way. So I would interpret that as, there's no such thing as failure, only feedback. Then what I would do is, based on that interpretation, I would assess whether or not I agree or don't agree with the author. In this case, I agree with Winfrey. And then I provide a thesis as to why I agree with the author. In this case, I would say that failure doesn't exist because everything is a learning experience. Then, in order to properly fill this 5 minutes of the speech, I would divide it into 2 points of analysis for my audience to understand. So, for an example, one of my main points would be that failure cultivates humility. And my second one would be that failure cultivates growth. And so then what I would transition towards is providing examples or stories or anecdotes to help my audience understand the concept. So let's look at that idea of failure cultivates growth. I would look through my memory and I'd find an example, and one example that comes to mind right now is NFL quarterback Lamar Jackson, who, during the 2018 NFL draft, was told that he should switch positions primarily based on his race. However, Lamar understood that this was fuel to the fire, right? This gave him motivation that he needed to go out and perform and show that I belong in the position that I belong in. And it's because of that, it cultivated a work ethic in him that continued on throughout the league that helped him to win 2 league MVPs and lead one of the best teams in the NFL. But that's primarily what an impromptu speech would look like. Rinse and repeat that example 3-4 more times. Top it off with an intention getter to get you hooked on the speech. And that's what an impromptu looks like.
And he has to prepare that in less than 2 minutes.
Yeah, that's less than 2 minutes.
That's even more impressive to me. My mind would be like all over the place. Well, is there anything you want to talk about the team that I haven't brought up yet?
I don't think so.
I just think we love each other.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's like stupid and corny and stuff, and like everyone says that, but like genuinely, I don't think there's like a time on the team where I'm not like, yeah, this is what I want to be doing right now.
Yeah.
And I was telling them in Greece, I mean, I've gone on a couple of different study abroad trips per se, and this was the coolest one because I mean, I have 2 of my best friends here, and to be able to experience that so intimately with them, and then just our 2 coaches was just a once in a lifetime opportunity.
I think I just got to keep hitting the nail right on the head and say that like this is more than a team, it is a family. As corny as that is, these guys and everyone on this team has helped me through some of my toughest moments, not just in my collegiate education, but in my young life so far. This bond that we have extends beyond speech and debate. It is true, lasting friendship. It's to the point where most of us are good friends outside of it. We started a Minecraft server together with us on the team, and we're always on that late at night playing together, or even if it's just us goofing around over text or playing Jackbox games together. But really, it's about that support network that we've established, and I think that's what it really means to be a member of this team.
And I think I'll add one more thing, and it's a motto that Jordan came up with like a year and a half ago, and we have this motto on our team. It's called "Abandon all shame," and we understand that whenever you give a speech that can be a very vulnerable position to be in.
Yeah.
And that can be a barrier for a lot of people trying to get into the activity, or I guess I'll call it a sport too. But this idea of abandoning all shame whenever you go up to give a speech, no matter the topic, no matter how prepared you feel, is what cultivates our success as a team personally. I don't know if you have any more to add about that, Jordan, but he was kind of the front runner to kind of establish that motto, and our coach is getting it tattooed now. So.
Yeah,
I love
getting
that.
it tattooed on her forearm. Yeah. I think you summed it right up on the head, but it's this idea that, public speaking is a scary thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of the biggest fears of adults nationwide, worldwide, to have a fear of public speaking. And so we recognize that there oftentimes is shame associated with that. But in order to give, we need to recognize that our messages are bigger than our speeches, and therefore abandon our shame in order to share a message that's impactful and could potentially change someone's perspective or their life.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I love that. And thank you guys for coming out today. This has been a blast. And thank you for joining us on this episode of Good Morning Greyhounds. Be sure to check out all of our other productions on YouTube to stay up to date on all things entertainment, news, and sports at UNDTV. Have a good morning, Greyhounds.